So again, the markets reacted terribly to the Trump tariffs. I want to go over what's going on, and let's just jump right in. Headlines: U.S. stocks shed 5.4 trillion in 2 days as Trump tariffs stoke recession fears. And we also talked about in the last video where Fed Chair Jerome Powell is putting up the alarm bells on stagflation. You also have this: S&P 500 closes down 6% as tariffs intensify a stock rout. Now, if you're curious what Trump is up to, what's his messaging today? Well, he's out golfing, and this is his message to everyone. Only the weak will fail. That's President Trump's message. Only the weak will fail. So I guess if you're struggling, who cares about you? You're weak, right? That's his message of the day. Only the weak will fail. If you check over at Fox News, right? Just kind of curious what they're talking about. I tell you, it's not the market crash. They're doing everything they can to not talk about it. Their headlines are, transgender this, transgender that. Look at whatever crimes dark people are doing. They always focus on that. If a white person commits a crime, they're not going to mention it, of course. They're also looking at, oh my God, why are people disobeying, Trump's orders? Like, that's the kind of stuff that they run. And there's a video I saw today in their messaging, which I want to play with you, which shows you how they really want to roll back the clock to like the 1950s kind of thing. Have a watch of this.
By 1979, GM employed more than 600,000 people in the U.S., the largest private employer in the country. GM at its zenith, but soon recession, competition from Japanese automakers, sales drop. In 1985, Saturn was born, billed as a different kind of car company to fight imports. But it was not enough. 1991 saw GM lose a record $4.45 billion.
So it was interesting that they started with this one image. That's what I want to show you. It's like a 1950s or even 1960s kind of image. And I guess the Fox viewers, and I've always known this, but I just want to make it clear, they want to go back to a world that doesn't exist anymore, right? Women, work in the house only, don't have jobs, just wear dresses all day, makeup, the Leave It to Beaver kind of world that may have never existed. They want to go back to the time when minorities, women have, no jobs and only want to give the jobs to the white guy. I mean, that's seriously that's the images that they're playing. And then they're like, hey, look at all these factory jobs we lost. It's all due to the, foreigners, etc. There's a lot of complicated things unpacked here, but I'll just talk about a couple of things. It was interesting that they showed, and this is from the White House messaging, that they're showing like Saturn, which is a company that failed. And part of, with the, if you guys know history at all, with the high fuel costs, Americans changed their preferences. They're like, you know what? I don't want to buy expensive, American gas guzzlers. I want to get smaller compact cars. And as it turned out, that the Japanese automakers were kind of seeing the market where it was going and were producing cars for that thing. And Americans just started shifting to that. And so they're going to blame, and this is they, meaning, the Trump people are going to blame all the stuff on foreigners, et cetera. But you could also say, hey, GM was partly to blame as well. They should have been producing cars that would have been more fuel efficient, better, in terms of reliability, and people would buy those cars. It's not just due to other, countries and other companies taking your jobs. That's how they try to portray it. And I also noticed that today they started drumming up the war messaging of all things. Have a listen to this. This is Stephen Miller.
With the right tax policy, the right regulation policy, the right trade policy, and investing in advanced manufacturing, all of these industries and supply chains can come back home. But here's the thing. It's not a choice. It's a national security imperative. Well, what would happen if there was a war and we didn't have the ability to manufacture our own steel, our own aluminum, our own medicine?
See, so what they're going on in there, and I'm not against American manufacturing. I want to make that clear. I'm not against it, but the reason sort of why we have to follow Trump, according to them, that's the messaging that they're going with, is this is a national emergency. What happens if we have a war, et cetera? I just keep hearing them say that over and over again. There's a lot of problems with the stuff that they're talking about because they want to change back the clock to an era that's different than it is today. Our supply chains have moved. The way that we manufacture things is all integrated around the world. And the other thing too, as well, I've noticed that they're playing it among some of their viewers. Have a watch at this. You'll see what I'm saying.
Look, we've been suffering for over 20 years. A little bit more suffering is not going to hurt us. Bring it back. This country can't feed itself. This country can't sustain its own way of life. If we get in a war with China, one of our big importers, if we get in a war with China, how understand?
See, and it's interesting because I hadn't been talking about that. I don't run in these circles, and I just kind of monitor every now and then. And it was interesting. Stephen Miller's talking about war. Now this particular person talking about war. And they started talking a lot, and this is on Fox News, all about how we have to save the shrimp industry, et cetera. That's the kind of messaging that they're going with. And I just wanted to let you know what their plan is, because a lot of people are like, what's their goal? What's their plan? Sure, they're thinking, okay, we're going to bring back, I guess, clothing jobs and make shoes. We're bringing back shrimping jobs, these kind of things. I just feel like it's not really well thought out. To be fair to Stephen Miller, he said, hey, maybe we'll get some high-tech manufacturing jobs, that kind of stuff. The thing is, though, with those, that's going to be more like Tesla stuff. And if you look at what Elon Musk is planning, Elon Musk's plan is to build robots, AI, these kind of things, which actually reminds me of what happened to GM, is when an American company was picking the wrong route to go and wasn't necessarily providing the types of products that people want to buy. Musk is trying to sell you 5 robots. I don't want to buy 5 robots. That's just not something I want. Musk is trying to sell you a Cybertruck. I honestly don't want a Cybertruck. It's way too expensive. It's not something I want. I think it's ugly, etc. And they just really missed the mark. And there's multiple factors going on here. I wanted to make this clear, guys. I understand, right? I understand, the shrimper person's point of view, and I don't want to discredit him that he's saying, hey, our industry's been hurt. Can you help us out here? I don't disagree, right? It's not crazy to say, hey, it's good to make our own food at home domestically. I understand these things. The problem is like the way our system is these days, and a lot of it has to do with our system. It's the drive for profits. And much of our agricultural, right? They use a lot of illegal immigrants. Yeah, I'm sure you guys know this stuff. And that's like Trump wants to kick these people out. And so I've always wondered about this. Will Americans do those jobs? At the moment, they don't pay that much, but theoretically, I guess we would raise wages on those jobs, I guess theoretically, or if there's no other jobs available in the country, then people are forced to do that kind of thing and go back to work in the fields. It's just a different world that, exists today than where they want to go. That's why I said, it looks like their messaging is go back to 1950s. And I looked, before, they're like, maybe it's go back to 1800s. Trump tweets out sort of this kind of stuff. Played it wrong. China played it wrong. They panicked. The one thing they cannot afford to do, it's like, what? And then he was going on and on about how we're going to save TikTok. And, I guess Americans are going to buy it or whatever. Is this on the top of your minds, right? This is the kind of messaging that they're putting out there. And I just want to share it with you. I think a lot of this stuff is kind of gaslighting people, getting you worried about war. And then therefore we have to, follow Trump or whatever. People have been asking me in the comments, is Trump going to declare a martial law or something like that? I haven't heard anything about that stuff. I don't follow those kind of things, but I just want to mention it. People have asked me that. I just said, I'm just telling you the truth. I haven't heard anything. I'll just say this. In Korea, the President Yoon tried to pull this kind of crap. The basic argument for Yoon was like, hey, the other party's not doing what I'm saying, so therefore I'm just going to go arrest everyone. I mean, I haven't heard any rumors about that stuff, but let's just say this. Trump and Musk are pretty scary people, and, I do follow the arrests that are happening of students and professors and stuff like that. So this stuff we do monitor. If I hear anything about that stuff, I'll let you know. Let's have a little bit more of what the Trump surrogates and stuff are saying.
I agree. I mean, all President Trump is doing in dissent is they're implementing a strategy that was developed by Alexander Hamilton. Once you change your frame to the 1800s and how...
See, when I heard this, I'm just like, are you guys for real? They really are talking about, the past. Can we get America back to the past? In this example, he's talking about, oh, well, we got to learn from what happened in the 1800s. This is who these people are. I just want to make it really clear. This is who these people are. They want to roll back the clock. They want to roll back your rights for women. They want to roll back the rights for minorities. You want to say people of color. They want to just take it back when only certain types of people can own property. That's kind of where they're going, right? Only certain people are going to have bank accounts. They really want to roll things back to a time that is just doesn't exist anymore. And I don't want to go back. That's my opinion on this stuff. It's pretty clear when you watch this stuff. They're saying it out loud. Have a look at more of this. You'll see.
His tariffs announcement that we're in uncharted waters. We're in the economic unknown. The president's long-term goal is laudable. I support it. It's not complicated. America is rich. We buy a lot of stuff. Every business in the world wants to sell to us. The president is saying to those businesses in other countries, if you want to sell to us and take our money, then you need to move your business to America and hire our people. Now, who can be against that?
So that's their plan. They literally just lay it out there. If you want to sell stuff to American because we're rich, you got to move your companies to USA and build it, in USA and sell it to our people. But there's a lot of problems with this because the way our system is built, and I'll just talk about something like a Walmart, for example. Walmart gets a lot of their goods from China. You guys know this. Cheap goods from China, basically cheap goods in Walmart. And people in America don't really work the kind of jobs anymore that make the kind of stuff that say is in Walmart. Is that the plan then is, I guess, tariffs on China, and then theoretically all those factory jobs in China are going to come to the USA? I mean, how's that going to work out? And like I was just saying before, I mean, I guess theoretically we could have, a split in the country, a bigger divide between rich and poor, which, yes, things are trending that way. And you have, a class of people that work in those kind of jobs in the factories making toys and all these kind of things. It just, we've moved past that as an economy. And guys, and I understand this isn't really fun to talk about, but I want to tell you the truth about this stuff, the kind of the world that they want to go back into. And I also want to make it really clear. It's not just that jobs are, by lower wage workers in other countries. A lot of jobs are lost due to automation. The economy has changed, and you have to update your skills to stick with that, or your skills just aren't needed in today's market, which isn't a very nice thing to say, but it is the reality. Guys, I went into education. I taught for about 10 years, and that's something I always emphasize with my students is keep your skills updated. And the same thing that we talk about every day on the channel, I would make sure that your knowledge base is current and up to date of what we're talking about and what matters today. Another simple example, back when I was teaching, I was actually having students when I remember Google made the announcement that they're going to integrate video calling, on the computer. And this would be like, 10, 15 years ago, where I was telling people, okay, guys, we're all going to learn to do this new stuff together. And for some students, it was kind of strange. Basically, this is like early Zoom calling kind of stuff. And for some students, it was kind of strange. Like, oh, like, why are we doing this? Like, why do I want to talk to someone on computer or through video, right? And essentially, that's where the world went to. So, students that took my class back then, they probably get it now of like why we started introducing this newer technology, like why we started doing cloud computing as early as possible. And, I'm just giving you some examples because a lot of the jobs that these people want in the Trump land don't exist in the USA anymore. I understand, guys, I understand that they're frustrated and upset. And we can bring jobs to the USA. We can. But you have to do it in a way that makes sense, and you have to go for jobs that are also going to make sense. And the way that the Trump people are doing it doesn't make sense, right? Like, I guess we're negotiating with Vietnam to bring back those kind of jobs. I mean, in my opinion, some of the opportunities would be, clean energy. That'd be something that you could do, rebuilding the infrastructure, training people in healthcare, which is actually a really big issue. We have a shortage of healthcare workers in the USA. And the other thing is you would actually want to train people to start managing factories and stuff overseas. If that is the new economy, just for example, and I'll just use an example of here in Korea, which is actually really common. The people who do really, really well here in Korea, because they're actually used to make things in Korea, and we still do, but it's kind of like USA, just the economies you modernize and things change. And then now these days, a lot of Koreans who have good jobs actually will move to Vietnam and manage the factory over there, or move to China and manage the factory over there, or stay in Korea and then like have two homes and manage factories. I'm just saying, if you want to move up the economic scale, you sort of understand that's the world that we live in today, where things get outsourced. I have another friend, actually, just for example, the outsourcing thing. She came on a podcast about 2 years ago. She runs a company where like you outsource office work, essentially. That's just the reality. Like, some people maybe really hate outsourcing, and I completely understand it, guys. I completely understand it, because basically what American companies then are doing is they're not giving jobs to Americans, they're not giving benefits, they're not giving full-time work, and they're just saying, hey, I'm just going to hire an accountant that, in another country and take care, take care of the bottom line because I can pay someone cheaper, and I don't necessarily need to have someone on full-time. Even those type of jobs may disappear because things are becoming automated. It's tougher. I think we all know this inherently. But I just want to have a talk with you because I think what frustrates me most about the Trump and Musk stuff is they act like they can turn back the clock, years. And this is just what it is. We're seeing it live happening, right? As they're trying to institute these policies to bring back a world that doesn't exist anymore. And I'm just sorry to tell you the truth about it, but I do want to be honest with you. And I also want to be honest with you as well. If you watch lots of other channels, they'll just tell you things you want to hear in terms of like, oh, look how strong the other party is. The Democrats are awesome and they're beating Trump every single day, stuff like that. Some of these problems, society, culturally, economically, is not an easy fix by either party, and very few of them want to tell you the truth, right? And this is just the truth, the straight up truth for your point of view. If you want to be successful in this world, always be learning every single day, always update your skills, and always be honest with yourself, right? Be honest with yourself. How do I compare to my competition, and how can I better myself to always have a leg up and always be networking? There's a lot of things you need to be doing. I write about this stuff in my book. You can check it out if you want to read it, but that's what it's all about. And for me, like every day when I come and chat with you about these things, I just share with you what I observe and what's happening from an honest perspective. And like I said, you may not get that in other places. And I understand that most people, you go to YouTube because it's entertainment and it's fun and you just want to be entertained and forget about the real world, I guess, and watch cat videos. I understand that. But if you want long-term success, live in the real world, you'll do much better. So that's all I have to share with you today. I appreciate your time, and I'll catch you on the next video.